Hello guys. It's been a casual 30-minute wait. Yeah, yeah. So we're starting on Busan, which is pretty cool. Uh, oh yes, Prod R. Okay. Anyway, did that. So we first got a Sojourn ban from Drury and a return Curie ban from Purdue.
Now traveling to Busan.
Um,
Initiating
which
match.
Yeah, Sojourn ban kind of makes sense here. It's this one. Yep. There's an annoying amount of small high grounds for Sojourn. It's pretty good for her range. Um, Kiri ban also makes sense. Purdue doesn't really like to run Kiri, and Kiri's really oppressive on Busan, or just in general. Kind of an annoying first ban. What the ever-loving fuck are we seeing there? Um, Purdue is on the comp of all time. Um, had nothing. Okay, we're seeing a slightly more reasonable comp come out from them, but yeah, no. Seems like Drury is going through for a bit of more of a brawly comp with the cast on the off angle, maybe.
One.
But yeah.
Round one. Capture the objective.
Eyes open, everyone.
Uh, so we're likely going to be seeing Pokey versus Brawl comp. Um, Pokey versus Brawl comp here. Domina's being a bit, I guess, isolated from the rest of the sports. Can't tell where the rest. No, never mind. Ana's kind of there. We are seeing Purdue kind of go down a little bit. However, Shelby does get a nice kill on the Domina there. Which kind of unfortunately can't do anything about that considering they just got DPS picked off and it's a lot of damage for Drury that Purdue just didn't have the ability to, I guess, counteract. Yeah, however, losing Domina early means you're not really able to build up Panopticon that early, which is a pretty good ultimate, especially if you can get it on a lone Cassidy, or even just on a support line here. Trickster falling a little bit low to begin with, not great starting fight. We're seeing a bit of a rush in with Speed Ring. Crackle going down really low HP. Tracer does fall, but once again they take Crackle in return, and they get Cassidy. Really good trades, or not even trades, really good picks. Speedring to get Shelby out there is also nice. There's really only a few left in Drury's backline right now. So they're likely gonna just be able to clean up. However, 43% on the point, not very okay, we're seeing an ult out here from Shelby in their spawn, essentially. Weong ults, both support ults, and although Flay does fall, that's two support ults out for a good old Gravitic Flux that Shelby has built up extremely quickly. Yeah, before Drury's even got a Blade, which is really nice. We're definitely going to see a bit more aggression from Drury here as they need to use ultimates quickly so that they can build up their ultimate bank. Yeah, did I catch it someone, but I kind of forgot. We're seeing, unfortunately, Flog does fall, Nay does fall, Shelby's really the only one still there. He's just gonna have to try and get the fuck out. I can't curse here anymore. Damn it. Forgot about that. It's not my own channel. Anyway, yeah, ultimate-wise, Purdue's in a really great situation. They don't have Flux, however, they do have two really good defensive ultimates. Well, they have one. Okay, got stunned out of Flux. They don't have Gravitic Flux. Shelby does fall. Trickster, yeah, Purdue not able to use their ultimate bank. They're definitely going to have to start using them now because they have three, almost four really good ultimates coming back up. And if they can do it before beat comes out, they can guarantee that all of them will get used pretty effectively. Yep, early ring, array. They managed to catch Drury's Ana, Cassidy. Yeah, they're also denying the Blade and the Deadeye from Drury right there. So, unfortunately, actually, they only used one out there. They only used Ray, which is really great for them, actually. It means that both teams have a pretty good ult bank there. Although, Drury doesn't really have any defensive ultimates here. Okay, so, uses both of their offensive ultimates, trying to get a Blade on the back line. Does manage to take out two. Flay unfortunately doesn't manage to get the kill there, and Chubby is just kind of sitting in their backline right now, after forcing out almost every single ultimate. Does manage to force out every single ultimate there, at least, but probably they won't be able to touch just by the amount of space they lost. Pretty unfortunate final fight there. They just didn't. They lost a lot of ground, and they couldn't really make that up with the last fights. Considering that both sides had really even ults, and if Drury just pressed Q, they could at least kind of win, and they did. They just had to press Q. We're seeing Trickster swap over to the Mei, which is pretty fair. Want to try and wall in that Sigma, wall in the Genji maybe, wall off the Cassidy. Would both all be really good options there. In general, Echo is definitely getting poked out a little bit. We're seeing a likely just better switch for, I wouldn't say better switch for this map, probably better switch for the team comp. Both teams kind of going on the left side. That's left side for Purdue anyway. Yeah. Seeing a speedrun in early. Walling off the Sigma is really good. Gets really low. However, Chubby does fall asleep on point. And okay, Flay walked off the map. Good start. But yeah, Chubby's unfortunately, actually no, he doesn't fall. From a nice wall from Trickster and a lot of healing from Sports. Fortunately, there is a Genji in their backline, and they're down supports. So Chubby is not going to survive that. Trickster might get out. Doesn't. Maybe we'll get out. If not, we'll get extremely staggered, which is not great for Purdue. Yep, get staggered. Not great, however, no one was on point for that fight, at least. So there's not that much percentage that they're losing, which is a fairly unfortunate, well, if they were to be losing percentage on top of losing fights, it's not great for Purdue. But we are likely going to see a very quick gravitic flux build-up, or a very quick nano, yes, that built up from Ney. Most of Purdue's pretty low, and their Ana is isolated on an off angle. So unfortunately, it seems like that Purdue is once again going to get picked off early this fight. Yep, and Flog just kind of walking in, did not stagger. Pretty unfortunate. Drury has a lot of ultimates there. You're seeing Flay swap over to the Genji here. Probably just to target the Ana. Wu Young is pretty, we'll go with escapable. Especially with, Wu Young is pretty good at escaping Genji, specifically. Does mean that Purdue is down an ultimate, but they're going to be using ult quickly. Especially being Gravitic Flux now. Cass, ult. We're seeing Flux on backline. For Drury, doesn't really get anyone. That's 3 ultimates used for Drury, without that much value. 4 ultimates used for Drury. Purdue did use 2, however, Chubby is almost back Okay. W is almost the back end of another Gravitic Flux, however, point-wise, they weren't able to cap that. Even though they won that fight, Drury was able to recontest pretty quickly because they just didn't finish everyone at a given time. Pretty good recontest from them. Yeah, pretty quick round in general. So that is Drury win. This is Drury blue, right? Yeah, it's blue. Cool. Yes, so that is a Drury win. Very curious to see how comps are going to be when there's now a Kiriko back in. Kiriko is definitely one of the more oppressive supports, very good in dealing a lot of damage. Ana and Wuyong are as well. However, Kiri's utility in Suzu is literally unmatched. We're seeing New Junk City from Purdue. Alright, I am tired as hell. New Junk City from Purdue. Pretty fair. They likely going to be going for either a Venture or a May here. I think they'll. I don't remember if Chevy plays Junker Queen. No, plays mostly Hazard. So probably not Junker Queen, probably a Hazard. Maybe seeing a Fly on. Actually, yes, Fly is going to be on Sojourn. That man is addicted. Yeah, Trickster on Ventures likely, or May. Support wise, probably an Ana, or actually it's probably Ana Juno again, I'd say. Am I streaming? I am. Am I streaming correctly? I am. Okay, cool. I wanted to check. Purdue is banning Ramatra. Interesting. Likely trying to force a brawly comp. However, if Drury's gonna run a Domina, that also works. For Brawl. I guess trying to make it so the tank at least requires more resources and is less generally survivable, likely. Don't really know what Drury plays, so can't say if that's a good ban or not, but definitely, they're definitely trying to, how shall I put this, walk on them more, and Ram is really good at being an immovable object if given enough resources. Ooh, we're seeing a Venture ban. Yeah, Venture. But if there's an easily burnable tank. Purdue, not Purdue. Overwatch goes so hard with this music sometimes. Especially on New Junk City. Alas. I don't know. We're likely gonna see Jarlax's back on the Genji. Just because it's been working. Probably gonna get Nadove a lot. Nope. On Tracer. Makes sense. Emre is interesting. I should probably stop before I give people motion sickness. Emre's interesting. He's very I'll go with a quick hit scan. Very bursty Bastion-like. I feel not really Bastion-like, but his abilities are similar. Very strong.
4, 3,
And yeah, just general rush comp, like I said, or well, not really rush, more brawly type comp. I said May. Sojourn makes sense, or well, lack of Sojourn makes sense because Vendetta exists. I forgot that Lucio exists for a minute too. We're seeing, okay, I was right with the Genji then. Flay is charging straight into the enemy team with Vendetta, which makes sense, but demanding a lot of resources for it. Unfortunately, Trickster, he's just walking in there. Unfortunately, Trickster is very low. Flog is dead. Yeah. Wasn't able to get any kills off of that push, unfortunately. Where is he? So he's back in spawn room. Because you can't really do much about that. But, yeah, no. Vendetta demands a lot of resources. Nice, already used Susu, which is not a great element. Vendetta and Zarya both demand a lot of resources. Kiri can often give those resources, however, sometimes it's just not great. Especially if you're not able to work with that. We are seeing a very low Genji, however, Flay is in the backline and they're down to support. Zarya will try and stay alive, but unfortunately Vendetta's going to fall. And yep, there goes Lucio too, unfortunately. Pretty annoying. Just means they're not able to get as much value as they needed to. Yeah, losing Kiri early sucks, especially in this comp where you literally need to keep your Kiri alive for the rest of your team to survive. Seems like they're just gonna go next point. Nothing else you can do, which is fair. Unfortunately, they weren't able to touch very much, so just kind of sitting there. But yeah, they don't really have any ultimates coming up soon, except for maybe Kitsune Rush, which can be built very quickly, and maybe Blizzard. We'd likely have to see an early Kitsune Rush, like now early Kitsune Rush, in order for things to actually go. They do manage to cancel beat, which is nice, however, Flog does drop. Trickster's also going to drop. Stubby is not going to lead, so it's just Flay. However, there are still 3 people, so he's going to fall. That is a lot of ultimates out from Drury, so Purdue might be able to win this next point, considering they have every single ultimate. But they have to play first. If they had early Kitsune rushed, likely it would have been good. Or Blizzarded. I know they got the kill on the Genji pretty early. Yep, early Kitsune rush, we see how. Unfortunately, they are looking to be able to kite it pretty easily. So that's not very ideal. They're having to play outside the Kitsune Rush now. We're seeing Brad, anti-Kitsune Rush. Oh, not anti-Kitsune Rush. Fortunately, I think that Blizzard got 8. Which kind of sucks. Everyone is quite low now. Shubby, yeah, everyone's really low. Yeah, Blizzard got canceled. Grab didn't get as much value as he needed. And Kitsune Rush didn't get anything. Unfortunate for Purdue. However, they still have beat, they still have Vendetta ult. They forced out another 2 ultimates from Drury. So it's going to be slightly better. Beat, an aggressive beat might work, especially if they use it to collapse on the Emre. If they use it to collapse on, yeah, if they use it to collapse on someone. We are seeing the Vendetta ult, doesn't get anyone. Beat also doesn't get anything. However, Nay gets a kill onto the other Kiriko. However, Purdue does lose too. Unfortunately, Chevy wasn't able to get much value on his dive. He does kill Wu Yong, however, it's a little bit late at this point. We're seeing a bunch of swaps here for the last point. Kind of unfortunate from Purdue that they're swapping now. Considering they don't have the perks build up. they've essentially switched up their entire team, which really sucks. But if they can build up ultimates really quickly, it might work. Not having a beat for a blade also really sucks. A blade or an emerald, it likely would have been better for them to stay on Lucio, even if they held the beat for an extra fight, didn't use it there. Yeah, we're gonna have to build up Katsuna Rush again, without having people die. And unfortunately, Trickster's likely gonna. Oh, Trickster actually doesn't die. Shelby does get a pick, however, it is quite low, and Janae is not able to heal him as much. Trickster does go down, however, gets probably gets a trade, so it's pretty even. Purdue's going to have to keep on pushing and not die right now when they have control of the point. If they can get this kill on Craggle, yeah, pretty nice. Yeah, no, they really need to just keep on playing first, and play specifically in areas where Drury can't avoid them. Because that was definitely a problem with the Kitsune Rush before. Orbital Ray, really, I guess, easy to kite. Same with all their ultimates here are really easy to kite. And in this case, yeah, you can't avoid that Kitsune Rush. However, you can't just beat it, which is avoiding it essentially. Unfortunately, half of Purdue does fall. So it's really just Chubby and Nay here. And yeah, nope. Unfortunately, when there's only 2 people alive, not great. They did play well. They played first. However, they didn't have the defensive ultimate there to counter the beat. Once again, beat would have helped there. Probably. I don't know if they would have had it built up, but it definitely would have helped to counter that. We need to see a pretty quick ultimate from Purdue. Yep. We see a trap onto that's Hazard. No, Sigma. There. Unfortunately, we are seeing 2 kills onto Purdue from Emre and Emre and Genji. Chubby's falling low. Everyone's low. You lose your Soj, or not Soj. Suzu, Kiriko. You're not gonna be able to do that much. Especially if your Soj with overclock ends up getting staggered that much. Not ideal. They need to have someone touch. And yeah, they just don't have that, unfortunately. Kinda sucked. But yeah, no. Definitely a frustrating match. Don't exactly know what Purdue. Don't fully know what Purdue would have been able to do better there, especially on the first point, other than not get isolated too much. Yeah, no, not really sure. Let's go. What map is this? It is Drury Win. Yippee. Yeah, no, definitely seeing a lot more. Definitely need to be seeing a lot more, I guess, tempo plays here, because in Busan at the very least there were a fair bit of them on, what was that map called? Train? That one. The one with the train. There's 2 ones with the train. They didn't play the other one with the train though, so I can say one with the train. It's probably like train station or something. But one with the train. Actually no, the other one doesn't have a train. This is the only one with the train. Regardless, definitely on that map there's a lot more of playing first, and I feel like Purdue just hasn't really been able to find that the opportunities that they need. We're seeing Midtown Genji ban. Pretty fair. Genji's been pretty annoying for Purdue. Where is Midtown? Where is Midtown? Midtown. There it is. Yep, Genji ban. Ba -ba -da -ba. Genji? Where is the Genji? I'm blind. There is the Genji. Yep, Genji ban makes sense. Genji's been pretty annoying for Purdue, especially their backline. We are likely going to. Actually, I don't even know what we'd be seeing. Maybe. Okay, Sig ban. Pretty fair. We've seen Chubby on a lot of Sig. Trying to negate the pokey aspect of the comp definitely makes sense here, considering that's what Purdue was likely going for, and Midtown is pretty damn good. Whatever. Yeah, we're likely gonna be seeing Hazard, probably Soj because pretty good sightlines for her. The only exception to both of those I can see is another Vendetta Czar. Don't see that happening just from the amount of resources that it demands from the backline.
Ready for battle.
What? Okay. Ignore that, I guess. Venture makes sense here. On a Juno also makes sense. These are both comfort picks. For Frog and May. We're seeing an Ash. How many hours does he have on Ash? Sorry, I'm doing this for my own sake. Ash. No, not skill rating. Time played. Okay. Chubby on Dominant makes sense. It's more brawly poke comp, poke character though. I am on the wrong team. So it's gonna be a lot easier to get their chokes, especially with the pushback ability, and just the pure damage output she has. She's got a lot. Chubby is pretty low, and they have used a speed ring already, which is not fun, because that means that Purdue is going to have to aggress in or just waste their speed ring. Seems like they're just gonna wait it out. Chubby's once again falling pretty damn low, which isn't ideal. However, Frog and Nay are both able to put really high healing output, so they are able to survive, or Chubby is able to survive that. Frog does fall, however, okay, backlines, if they can get a pick onto Kiriko, that'd be a great backline trade. However, we're likely not going to be seeing that. Purdue's likely just going to reset here. Yeah, no, backline trades are definitely going to be the core of this, because otherwise you're just going to be seeing fights in the choke between dominoes.
I'm not heartless. I'm busy.
Be so real for that. Yeah, walling off Domino's great idea here because you literally just need to stop her from dealing damage to everyone else and getting healed. Chubby's falling really low. Purdue is doing a lot to keep them alive. However, they don't have the damage output right now, which means that they're not going to be able to get the kills they need on the backline. And once again, it's a backline trade game here. If Purdue can get good kills onto, honestly, not even the Wuyang or Kiri, if they can get a good kill onto the Ashe or Emre, that'd be great. They're trying to, but they just haven't. Panopticon would be great, especially if he can, yes! Panopticon on the backline means that they can't really do anything. Fog does fall, but it's not really important here because you lose both your supports, you can't do anything. Purdue does lose both their supports, but once again, it's a bit late, considering that there's just an Emre on 2 HP up there, and the only thing that he can do is, yeah, die. They did use 2 ultimates there, but on the Emre, I'm pretty sure he has even less time on Emre than Ashe, but we've got 2 ultimates out of Drury here. Purdue only has Ray, which is a good defensive ultimate here, but I don't know how effective it is against the Panopticon. Against a bot, probably not. And definitely against an Emre ultimate here, which I don't know what his ultimate is, but I'm not calling it the other thing. Purdue definitely wants to try and once again take out a squishy. We're seeing a very early bob from Drury here. I don't know if that's impacting anyone. I don't think it is. Kind of got sent into Narnia there. Trickster is very close to a Ventral, which would be nice. I think that was a boop onto Panopticon, which would be really good. Unfortunately, Slay does fall due to an Emre ult. Isn't ideal. Rest of Purdue is pretty low. Just kind of a quick retreat. They got out 3 ultimates there. Do lose Trickster on the way out, which isn't ideal because that's a really good offensive ultimate there. If Shelby can get up a Panopticon, that'd be great. They're definitely trying to go for Panopticon Nano because they did that last time. I don't know how effective it'll be, especially on this point. We're seeing a Ray come out. Shelby is going to barely almost fall, however, does get care with Nano. They just fall. Seems like Purdue's goal here at this point is to just kill the Domina. However, the rest of the team is still got all the space up there. They haven't gained anything from that. Sure, Domina's going to take some time, but you've lost a support already. Yeah, the supports are gaining percentage for their ultimates there, and considering they use both support ultimates, and they need to either build that up quickly or accept that they're going to lose the support ult trade. Domina's back. They haven't gained any space from there. Shelby's gonna Panopticon on up top, which is a great play at this point. Doesn't get any kills. It gets everyone really low, requiring a lot of resources and pushing everyone back, which is pretty good, especially if they can get this Kiri. They force that Kitsune Rush, which is great. I don't think that they force out any other ultimates there. That's still really good. 2 ultimates there and a fair bit of space. Shelby's low. However, yeah, Ventral ultimate there. I don't know if the Emre ultimate was necessary. But it gets a kill. And might actually do some cleanup. It doesn't do any cleanup actually because he's dead. But yeah, Purdue is likely going to be able to cap a second point, which is great. They have 2 support ultimates there, which is also great. They do have a pretty severe ultimate disadvantage here. Yeah, which we're going to see a lot of ults here. Purdue really needs to get the hell onto point, but losing your Ana close to Nano is insane. Your Juno's really the only... Okay, and your Juno's dead. You're not touching point. They can't touch point here. Unless Chevy's switching over to ball right now, which he's not, there's no way that they can touch the point in 10 seconds. So... maybe Trickster will get there? Okay, Trickster does get there. Does fall, but triggers overtime. We're seeing Nano. Barely gets on point, which is great. Does manage to get a kill. We see Nano, we see Ray, we see all ultimates come out from everyone, essentially. Hopefully, Chevy's trying to build up the Panopticon. Does get Kiri, however, does fall. And I don't believe that... yeah, no. How far was Trickster? Yep, not able to touch. Not ideal. Yeah, no, targeting that Domina, even though she was in your backline, I feel like was the biggest mistake that Purdue made that round, because the rest of their team just had all of the space that they could. And it didn't matter whether the Domina was there or not, they still maintained it, and then they lost that fight anyway. Definitely their biggest problem there, but I feel like it's not a unlosable. No, it's still a winnable game from Purdue. Because Midtown is, if they can hold really well at the beginning, that'd be great. We're seeing a lot of unconventional picks from Flay here. I'm not going to ask why we're seeing the Mercy. I'm pretty sure it's solely for the Emre pocket, which makes sense considering he's been putting in work. Where's the Emre? Vow. Yeah, been doing a fair bit. Especially on things, I assume solo kills.
5, 4, 3,
Sure.
2, 1.
Yeah,
Attackers
but
incoming.
if they can kill that Ana who's going to be likely isolated, it's going to be great for Purdue. Why is your turret there? Oh, sure, fine. Okay, not going to ask questions. Spamming the choke is definitely going to be Purdue's goal here. However, if a Tracer just kind of walks on their Ana, you're a little bit screwed here. It definitely seems like that's going to be the Ana's goal, or well, the Tracer's goal here. Considering the fact that we can't see the Ana, I'm going to, or the Tracer, yep, that's exactly what Tracer's doing. W does manage to get a kill onto the Emre, however, it gets rezzed, which makes sense. Pretty unfortunate, but they're just gonna have to try and build up some ultimates really quick. Get another kill onto the Emre. Cannot be res this time. If they can get a kill onto the Mercy, that'd be great. We're seeing Emre switch over to Cassidy. Pretty fair, considering Trickster's one of the more problematic characters if they're on Emre. Chevy has Panopticon. If they can use that early, that'd be great. Nope, Chevy falls. Unfortunate. Okay, we're likely not going to see the insane spawn hold that we did before. Yeah, no, if Chevy could have gotten off that Panopticon, that would have been great. However, we're likely going to see... No, it's just like getting staggered.
Salutations.
That would have been a really great ultimate for them.
Objective lost.
Flay swapping over to Ash.
Hello, hello.
Once again, 30 minutes in Ash. Likely going to have to, once again, target the squishies here. Don't see any other solution, especially if you can take out the Ana pretty quickly. Avoid your own Ana from getting tracered. Just keep on marking her. Flay falling pretty early, pretty unfortunate. There's the Tracer. Just straight up misses pulse, which is pretty good. We're seeing what is that all? Valkyrie. Yeah, it's bad. Valkyrie come out from Mercy here in their front line. Okay. Doesn't get as much value as I think they wanted to. It does keep them alive. Your Mercy is just straight up on your front line. However, a lot of yeah, I feel like that's probably a slightly lost fight for Purdue here. A lot of ultimates from Drury anyway, but I don't really see much that they can do. A lot of ultimates, sure, but you just lose because you can just press Q and win. Yeah, that is the game. Yippee. I think Purdue definitely learned how oppressive Emre was, and how annoying a lot of damage is. I don't know, I don't have much else to say other than I feel like Purdue can definitely learn from this game. It'll be fun to see them play against each other later, because I don't know if they've been playing against each other, but I know that they have similar skill levels going up against. They have similar skill levels that they're going up against later. So yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah.